Have you been to see your GP recently? Or are you one of the thousands of people who are having to wait up to 4 weeks for an appointment at the local surgery? Those figures are from the NHS, and they're backing up a report by the Lancashire and Cumbria Consortium of Local Medical Committees, saying more than 200,000 people in Cumbria are signed up to GP practices that are at risk. Cumbrian GP Dr. Ellen Welch has written a book called Why Can't I See My GP? And BBC Radio Cumbria's Nick Brownlee has been to meet her.
1948 saw the start in Britain of a great social experiment, the National Health Service. Its backbone is the 23,000 doctors who practice medicine throughout the country. The special relationship between doctor and patient is very valuable, for the doctor can never regard his time as his own, which is just as well. For in the evening, for example, when most people relax after work, the call may come from the sick or those in trouble, a call that cannot be disregarded.
76 years after its launch, we still look at the good old National Health Service through rose-tinted spectacles. But increasingly these days, it seems to be the case that the doctor won't see you now.
Please hold. We'll be with you shortly.
According to the NHS itself, 1 in 20 patients has to wait at least 4 weeks to see a GP, with the worst affected being people in rural counties like ours. But who or what is to blame? The GPs? The government? Or is it us?
Please hold. We'll be with you shortly.
There's many reasons you can't see the GP, and it's not because GPs are lazy. It's because there's been insufficient investment in general practice, essentially.
This is Ellen Welch. She's been a doctor for 20 years and a GP here in Cumbria for 10. She's also the author of a new book entitled Why Can't I See My GP?, which offers a pretty damning diagnosis about why the system is at breaking point.
But we've also got a population, I guess we've got the Amazon Prime generation, so people expect an answer to everything right now. And the NHS wasn't designed for that.
Cross the Amazon Prime generation with Dr. Google, who has the uncanny ability to turn even the most mild symptom into a life-threatening disease, and you've got a real problem.
Well, I guess one of the examples from the book, one of the ones that springs to mind, is when I was actually working on cruise ships. So someone paid me to they had a fleck in their nail, which they were worried about, and it turned out just to be a piece of dirt. Who am I to say that you shouldn't come and see a GP if you're worried? That's our job, that's what we're there for. But there isn't enough of us to do that all the time. It means if we're dealing with that, people who've got chronic diseases are maybe not getting seen as often as we might like.
Ellen's keen not to put all the blame on patients. Her book also makes the point that GP surgeries are in dire need of increased government funding. But this begs the inevitable question. How much more needs to be put in? Because a lot of people think, well, the NHS is a bit of a black hole, we're putting billions in there and, they always need more.
Well, that's a common argument, but it's not common to primary care. So hospitals get a preferential chunk of that money, whereas more of it needs to come to general practice.
But when it comes to treating our ailing GP service, could the best medicine be education?
In the past, I guess people would have had more of a village around them, access to wise old grandmas who could have reassured them and said, that cough you've had for 1 hour will go away. And we don't always have that now. The NHS is a vast complex system that even staff struggle to deal with, and the idea is that if we teach it in schools from a young age, people know where you go for certain problems, so when to call an ambulance, when it's appropriate to go to A&E, when you see your GP, and just to be able to navigate the system a bit better.
Dr. Ellen Welch ending that report by BBC Radio Cumbria's Nick Brownlee. The government says that since 2019, more than